joined again by my co-host Evan Watallison. And Evan, I'm going to tell you what. We're not going to talk any Packers today. I don't want to talk any emotion from what I saw yesterday. We're going to wait till Monday when we do the Packer recap so we can talk with some sanity. How does that sound?
Did a bit of enough talking about it this morning, and I was at 12:50 this morning doing the phone for that show, so I'm kind of talked out on it for right now. So it's perfectly all right for me. I probably would be the best co-host if we're talking Packers right now too. So
well, I don't
probably for the better, and to wait till Monday.
Yeah, and I don't think our listeners would appreciate our talk today because it would all be based on emotion. We'd be saying stuff that was probably even worse than me when I'm an idiot with an opinion. So that said, for the listeners, Monday is Packer recap. Evan and I will have our wits back about us. We'll give you some stats. We'll give you some logic. And we'll tell you how the Packers are going to move forward from what happened yesterday. Today's episode is another good one, Evan. I always like Friday. We get to talk about the NFL. You and I...
Good day.
Yeah, you and I actually had picked 4 games. And it was funny because I had done the research, and you picked the same 4 I did the research on, so that was pretty cool. And then Evan and I will give our upset pick. And this week, we don't each have a different one. Evan and I have the same game. As we went through the schedule and through the predictions, you know, Evan, you and I said it, there isn't a lot of great games as far as playoff implication. I mean, there's some, but when we were looking at it, either team winning, none of them were really a big upset other than the one that you and I are going to pick.
Yeah.
So
the only one that's out there.
Yeah, so
that's not a good week for football.
No, and and where I'm at right now from yesterday, I'll still watch, but just kind of deflated. But the 4 games that we're going to preview today, Evan, yeah. I'll go over them and I'll let you start off with the first one. But I'll go through all 4 games we're going to talk about. First one is the Bears and the Vikings. Of course, that is an NFC North matchup, which directly affects Packer fans. The second one is Eagles Cardinals, and that has huge playoff implications in the NFC. Cardinals really playing well right now. Eagles are trying to keep pace with the Cowboys. So that is a very big game in the NFC. Then on Sunday night, we got the Broncos and Chiefs. That is a huge game for that division.
Did they just play on Sunday night?
Yeah, they play Sunday afternoon.
They just played on Sunday night.
Yeah, they played Sunday night. They play Sunday afternoon.
Their afternoon game?
Yeah, my fault.
Okay.
Still a late Sunday game.
Well, I just thought the NFL scheduled them again.
No, but to be honest, I wouldn't mind watching that Sunday night game. I had a good time watching it the first time they played. So, I think it's going to be another good game.
Yeah, it's a good matchup.
And then Monday night, I think, is a really good game, the game that we're going to preview a little bit, Saints and Seahawks. That has huge home field advantage for the NFC written all over it. So, with that said, Evan, I'm going to let you take it away and talk Bears-Vikings, and then I'll chime in with some of the things that I think are key to this game, and we'll move forward from there.
Well, first game you talked about, the 6-5 Bears are hosting the 2-8-1 Minnesota Vikings. Looking at this game, there's a couple keys to it. The Bears, they gave up 258 yards rushing against the Rams, against 2 running backs that are just guys and nothing special. And then the Vikings, they're coming off performance in Green Bay where they gave up a late 16-point lead. But Ponder looked pretty decent in that game, and Adrian Peterson ran for 146. Toby Gerhart ran for 91. The key for the Bears, they have to figure out a way to stop the run, which they're not able to do at all this year. And the Vikings, they just have to run the football. And if the Bears are able to score early on the Vikings, it could take away the Vikings' ground game. But I think the Vikings are going to end up winning this one.
Well, that's kind of a big upset right there, Evan. Saying that the Vikings are going to beat the Bears. I'm going to disagree with you. I think the Bears are going to hold on and beat the Vikings. But I agree with you. The biggest mismatch for the stats on this...
Well, Peterson might get lost on the way to the stadium, too.
Don't even go there, bud. Don't even go there. And here's the reason I think the Bears are going to hold on. Is the weapons that the Bears have in Marshall, Jeffrey, and Bennett, even with McCown at quarterback, that Vikings secondary, Matt Flynn went in and did some good things, and you and I talked about where the weakness was there. And the way I'm looking at it, I think the Bears are going to be able to exploit that. And they also get, and I think the thing that people forget about is Matt Forte out of the backfield. The guy is a perfect check down.
He's, I think, questionable, though.
Yeah, he's questionable, but I think he's still probably going to play. Even without Forte, though, you've got Marshall and Jeffrey and a Viking secondary. I mean, Xavier Rhodes played really well, but I think that the Bears are going to be able to exploit it. I know the rushing defense for the Bears is 32nd in the league. They're giving up 145 yards a game, and the Vikings are averaging 122. That jumped up dramatically because they rushed for over 200 against the Packers. I mean, I think they can establish the run, and I think they can keep it close for a while. I just think with those weapons on the outside that the Bears are going to, they're going to beat the Vikings based on that alone. I'd like to see the Vikings take care of the Bears. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just thinking the Bears are going to be able to take care of the Vikings with the passing game, even with their backup quarterback in the game. So moving on, Evan, Eagles-Cardinals. You got the Eagles 6-5, have to win because the Cowboys won yesterday to go to 7-5. And the Cardinals have just been playing outrageous football lately, 7-4, and they hold the second wild card right now. Cardinals have won 4 in a row. Eagles have won 3 in a row. Something has to give here. So what's going to give, Evan? Give me your take on this.
Well, the Cardinals have the 8th-ranked defense in the NFL. The Eagles have the 4th-ranked offense. I think the Cardinals' defense shuts down Nick Foles, who's been extremely hot lately, but I think the pressure that the Cardinals bring is going to give Nick Foles some issue. And we all know the offense that the Cardinals have is, they have Larry Fitzgerald, and, Carson Palmer is playing really strong football right now. So I think the Cardinals end up winning it with their 8th-ranked defense overpowering the Eagles' 4th-ranked offense. And the Eagles' defense is 31st in the NFL right now. So I don't see the Cardinals having any problems moving the football. So I say the Cardinals with the win. Eagles drop to 6-6.
I agree with you. I believe the Cardinals are going to take care of business against Philadelphia. It is in Philadelphia. But if there's one place where there's no home field advantage, it's Philadelphia. They have struggled mightily the last couple of years at home. And so I don't even think that's a home field advantage for them anymore. But I think the biggest key here, and you touched on this, is the defense. The Eagles' defense is giving up nearly 300 yards a game passing. And you and I talked a couple weeks back about Palmer, who is quietly having probably one of his best years ever. And nobody's talking about him. And, he's able to hook up with Fitzgerald. And I'll tell you, Ellington in the backfield, since he's replaced Mendenhall, he's no McCoy by any means. I mean, McCoy is close to 1,000 yards, if not over already. I don't know the exact stats. I could look it up quickly here. But Ellington gives them enough for Palmer to do a little bit of play action, which Mendenhall didn't allow them to do early in the season. And I think that's one of the biggest keys for the Cardinals' 4-game winning streak, is Ellington has given them enough for Palmer to give at least the resemblance of play action, because they have to honor Ellington. He's averaging 6 yards a carry, Evan. I mean, that is unbelievable. And that's a Cardinals offense that we didn't think was going to do anything. So
yeah, Ellington's been quite the surprise this year. I wasn't expecting that.
No, I didn't even think the Cardinals were going to get 7 wins when I did my preseason predictions. So, hats off to Bruce Arians. He's done a great job. He's got a veteran quarterback, and we both know what he did with Luck. I mean, Arians can coach up quarterbacks. And so what he's done is he's taken the skill set that Palmer has in the downside of his career, and he's given him new life. And he's got an all-world receiver in Fitzgerald, which is a good thing to have. I think the other key to this game is the Eagles rushing offense is averaging about 150 yards a game, but the Cardinals' defense is only allowing 88. And like you said, I think the Cardinals are going to shut down this Eagles offense because I think they're going to be able to score, and when they do that, they're going to have to get away from McCoy, and they're going to put it on Foles' shoulders. And I don't think Foles has really had that type of pressure during this 3-game win streak. What do you think about Foles at quarterback?
No, I don't. Yeah, he's a pretty decent quarterback, but like you said, he hasn't really had the pressure these past few games. He's been pretty much untouched as of late, and I think he's thrown 16 straight touchdown passes without an interception, which is second to Peyton Manning to start the year. So, but I just think the Cardinals bring a different kind of pressure, and Foles is going to be feeling it, on Sunday. I just don't think they're going to be able to move the football as easily as they have.
Yeah, and again, I agree with you. So moving on to the Sunday game, and probably the biggest game in the AFC that we've had in 2 weeks, because it was a big game when they played last time. But we got the 9-2 Broncos at the 9-2 Chiefs. This person will have, of course, well, if the Broncos win, they'll definitely have the clear advantage in the division. But the winner will have the 10 wins. They'll have the inside track to that home field advantage as we're moving forward. We all know what happened 2 weeks ago. The Broncos won 27-17. And when we look at that game recap, I'll go through that game and then you can give me what has to change this game. That Chiefs defense, which is so good at getting to the quarterback, barely touched Manning. Manning was able to tear him apart. He had 323 yards passing. But the thing is, his touchdowns thrown were low, but when they got inside the 10, they handed it off to our Wisconsin buddy, Monte Ball, and he took it in the end zone twice. And what I saw when the Broncos played the Chiefs last time, Evan, is that their offensive line totally went out and dominated the Chiefs so they could run the ball. Marino and Ball had it didn't have great numbers. It was like 78 yards for Marino, and Ball had like 28, but 2 touchdowns inside the 5. They gave them enough running lanes, and they protected Manning where that game didn't even seem as close, 27-17, as it was. So the biggest thing I saw in the last game is that Manning didn't have a dirty jersey at the end of the game, and that offensive line protected and allowed them to have enough running lanes to be able to control the tempo of that game. And like I said, the 27-17 score, it seemed like the Broncos actually blew them out when I was watching that game. Because you and I talked about it, Alex Smith is not a comeback quarterback. He's a game manager. And you can't manage the game when you're behind. You have to take some chances. You got to put the ball in the air. And the other stat that was stuck out to me, Alex Smith had to run for 52 yards in the last meeting. That means that Broncos defense was getting after Smith, because you and I both know a lot of those runs were not called runs for Alex Smith. So what do you think has to change this week for the Chiefs to be able to beat the Broncos?
Well, the Chiefs are going to have to find a way to generate a pass rush on Manning, and it's going to be very difficult because Houston is for sure out with the dislocated elbow suffered in last week's loss to San Diego, which I did predict, by the way. And Ali, he's slowed down by an ankle injury. He's expected to play, but he's not going to be the same. So, but the Chiefs have to generate a pass rush, and where they got to do it is up the middle. They have to get at Manning's feet and not give him a clean area to step up in the pocket. And if you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said the Chiefs would win this easily, being that it's at Kansas City. But I see the Broncos pretty much more of the same than what we all saw a couple weeks ago with the Broncos getting a pretty easy win with the 2 outside rushers for the Chiefs shooking off, one of them not playing.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to get pressure. I think one of the keys, it's got to be for the Chiefs. I mean, if they don't keep the score close and they let the Broncos get out to a 14-point lead, that game is going to be over. You know, I just mentioned it. Alex Smith is not a comeback quarterback. They're going to have to control the tempo, and the way they do that, they have to get Charles established. I don't think they really were able to do that in the last meeting. If they can establish Charles, win the time of possession, we know the Broncos can go down and score in 1 minute. They have so many weapons. But when I look at it, the Chiefs' best defense in this game is going to be able to keep Manning off the field. And they can't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
But I think the Broncos are going to win again. When I look at where these two teams are, it's just that based on 2 weeks ago, it was so close that you can make adjustments, but I don't think any adjustments the Chiefs are going to make are going to warrant a win here. So I think the Broncos are going to take care of business in this one also. So I agree with you on that one. Let's move on then to Monday night, Evan, and this will be the biggest game in the NFC. 9-2 Saints against the 10-1 Seahawks. I will tell you, I personally did not think that the Saints were going to be atop this division. I thought they were going to be in a dogfight to get a wild card this season. And I didn't even have them making the playoffs in my preseason. I didn't think they'd have that big of a turnaround. So maybe Sean Payton is the answer there. And maybe that guy running that team is the total reason why that team is so successful. Don't get me wrong, they've got good players. But I never saw in my wildest dreams the Saints being at 9-2 after 11 games. So I'm going to give them credit. You and I talked about that defense we thought was pretty porous at the beginning of the year has actually turned it around, and they have the 5th-ranked defense for yardage. You know, the ranked number 5. I have it up on the screen right now. So we didn't think that defense was going to play that well. And so did Ryan come in, turn it around that much? Because that team is playing really good football right now. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, they are playing really good football. And, I didn't expect the defense to play this well either. I was not thinking they're going to have a top 5 ranking in the NFL. But as we saw a few weeks back when the Saints played the Jets, they're susceptible to the power running game of a team. Ivory had, I believe, 34 carries against the Saints for over 100 yards, and he controlled the game all game long. And while the Saints have the 3rd-ranked offense in the NFL, so they, you would think that they would be able to put points on the board, but the Seahawks have the 2nd-ranked defense in the NFL, and they have a beast in the backfield in Lynch. And I just don't see the Saints stopping Lynch, because if Ivory could go 34 carries for over 100 yards, and he's just a guy, he's nothing special about him really. He's just a reliable running back. Lynch should be able to control this game at the line of scrimmage if the Seahawks can give him some running lanes without a problem. And if the Saints cannot stop the run and they struggle to stop the run, that's going to keep Drew Brees off the field, and that's going to force the Saints into a type of game they don't want to be in. And with that said, I think the Seahawks are going to end up winning this game because I see them having a hard time stopping Lynch.
Well, it's two ends of the spectrum in this game. You've got the Saints, who are the great passing team. Brees is on pace again, Evan, for a 5,300-yard passing season, and he's on pace to throw 40 touchdowns again. His biggest weapon is Jimmy Graham. And on the other end, you've got the Seahawks that have that powerful running game. And so when we look at it, you're absolutely right. Can the Saints stop Lynch? And can the Seahawks stop Brees? I know that the big talk around Seattle and the NFL is Browner and Thurman being suspended. And so will that open up?
They are appealing, so they should be able to play.
Yeah, they should be able to play. I haven't heard anything. But, that's big talk. That's the distraction that you'll have there. But in either case, I think the biggest thing is what you talked about. The Saints' defense is ranked 18th against a very powerful running game. This game is in Seattle. They're going to establish the run. I think it's going to be a good game, don't get me wrong. But I think Seattle at this point, being at home where it's very tough for an opponent to win, and they just have, the great running back in Lynch, they're going to be able to establish that, like you said, because Ivory ran all over him. I see Lynch. This is my big wow of the week. I think Lynch is going to run for about 200 yards. I think they're just going to have a heavy dose of I think they're just going to hand the ball off to Lynch, let him get his 4 yards a crack, and he's going to break a couple for 10, 15, maybe even break one out of the pack. And I think the Seahawks are going to win. Like I said, I think it's going to be a close game because it's Breeze. I mean, Breeze always gives you a chance to win a game when he's on the field. But I just think, that defense, as well as it's played, has shown its weakness against the run. And that's what the Seahawks do well. They run the ball. Russell Wilson is making enough plays in the offense. But outside of Lynch, I mean, name the receivers that are going to be all pros on that Seahawk team, Evan.
Well, Percy Harvin just came back from injury, and he's an all-pro threat if he was healthy all year. But other than him, you don't really have anything.
No, you got Golden Tate. I mean, Tate's a good receiver, but you don't have those superstars on
he's
the
not an all-pro, though.
Yeah, he's not. But when you look at it, there's no superstars on the outside of that. And so they're doing it with Lynch and then letting Russell Wilson make a play either with his feet or with his arms. I mean, I think the Seahawks are going to take care of that, and that'll definitely give them, an 11-1 record. Saints will fall to 9-3. If Carolina would win, at that point they would be 9-3, but that's a 2-game lead with 4 games to go, and it looks like Seattle will then pretty much be in the driver's seat to have home field for the NFC playoffs. So that'll bring us up, Evan, to our upset of the week. And I know last week you and I each had a separate game, but we were in the pre-chat, and you're like, I'm going to keep it secret. And I'm like, well, if I have the one. So we had a little bit of our own ramble in the pre-chat. But I'm going to let you go ahead and give your surprise upset that I had to agree with, and then we'll talk about that game. So what is the upset of the week, Evan?
Well, the game I look at, I circle on my calendar, is the 3-8 Buccaneers and the 8-3 Panthers. The Buccaneers are hot right now. They've won 3 straight. Things are going really well. Quarterback's playing well, running the ball well. And the Panthers, they have a big game next Sunday. This is a trap game for them. And I think they get caught looking ahead to New Orleans, where they're trying to, if they win on Sunday, and as you said, Sunday, and as you said, if the Saints lose, the game next Sunday Sunday night is going to be for the division lead. And I think the Panthers get caught napping. I think the Buccaneers sneak up on them and pull out a tight victory, kind of like what they did to Detroit last week. So that's my upset of the week, is the Buccaneers over the Panthers.
And like I said, I'm going with that one also. And when you look at it, I think the biggest thing is everybody is just praising this Carolina defense, and they're praising them and saying how great they're playing. And they are playing really good football. They're only allowing, I believe, like 14 points a game. But what I'm seeing is Glennon is really starting to really fall into this quarterback position. It's probably too early to say if he's a franchise quarterback or all those things. But what I'm seeing from him, I'm seeing a lot of maturity for a rookie. He's getting the ball to Jackson. They're utilizing Martin just enough. And like I said, what was a key in the Cardinal game is utilizing it enough to get the play action. And you and I both know when a quarterback has the play action, it makes things a little bit easier because it has to hold the linebackers or the safeties for just 1 second. And when you have that threat, it gives the quarterback that one more second just to see what's going on the defense. And I think that's what the Buccaneers have been doing really well. But the same thing is said in this 3-game winning streak. That defense has been rejuvenated. And the Buccaneers defense last Sunday did what we were hoping the Packers would have done yesterday against the Lions. And that is cause disruption with the receivers. When you go back and look at this, that secondary is really starting to play well right now. And they've got to force turnovers. And I think they can get Cam Newton to give them 1 or 2 turnovers to be able to actually pull off this upset. I think it's going to be close. And I think, it's going to come down right to the last drive. But I think, like you, I think the Buccaneers are going to be able to go and beat Carolina, and that'll be our huge upset of the week. So with that said, Evan, we've got about 4 minutes left on our show, and I'll turn it over to you to give some thanks to the people that we want to give thanks to, as we always do on our show. So I'll let you take care of that.
Well, just thanks to Cass and her website, your daily CowboysFootballFix.com, who is gracefully putting the site on, the show on her site and giving us possible new exposure that we previously didn't have. And thank you for those that are listening and interacting with us on Twitter.
Yeah, and so all we got to say now is, Evan, we just need to have some callers come in. I know I tweeted out all day, and people are probably sick of me tweeting out. I did put out before on Facebook that we're going to try to come up with a pretty solid schedule. It's just tough with Evan and I actually having real jobs. Isn't that funny, Evan? We actually do have real jobs that we have to do. I wish we could just do this full time, but sometimes it's hard for our schedule to give the same time every day. We're really trying to, but we want the interaction. We love the interaction. I know we get some, so don't be afraid to call in. Even if you don't know sports very well, call in, say hi to us. We love to meet our fans. We love to interact with our fans. All of those things are wonderful. But as we move forward, Evan, I mean, when we look forward to next week, we're going to do the Packer recap on Monday. And what I'd really ask the fans is on Facebook, on Twitter, give us some topics for next week that you really want us to talk about. It does not have to be Packer related. It can be anything that you want it to be. It doesn't even have to be football. If there's anything going on in sports, Evan and I are more than welcome to chat about it. Evan and I, we love our football, but we also follow sports pretty religiously. So as we look forward, Evan, when we look at next week, I'm really getting geared up for Monday. Trying to get my thoughts in line. But, with that said, any last parting words that you have?
No, just same as you. I'm trying to wrap my head around Sunday a little bit, and what happened and how where the Packers can go from there. Because it was the one comment I'll make about it was a very ugly game, and it was the ugliest game I've seen since 2006 when they played the Patriots. So I just got to wrap my head around to see what happened and if anything can be salvaged.
Yeah, should I share my comment that a wise man gave me, which is my 82-year-old father? Should I share that today, or should I wait till Monday to share that?
You should share it today as kind of a preview.
Well, here's the preview then. This is about how our show is probably going to go on Monday. A very wise man, which is my father, 82 years old.
90 seconds.
I called him up after the game, and I asked him what time the Packers play, because whatever I just watched was not a football game. And my father said, and I'm going to use G-rated words here, Evan, but you can fill in the blanks. He said, this is a game where they got blank crap kicked out of them, and it was kicked out of them so bad that the Lions turned around and rubbed their nose right in it. So my father was pretty livid after that game. Like you said, I have not seen them play this bad in a long time. And so, yeah, we've got to wrap our head around some things to be able to come back with a good show on Monday. And we definitely will, folks. We'll come back and we'll give you this. We'll give you the facts. We'll give you how it is. Not going to sugarcoat it, but it will be a good show on Monday. So hopefully you'll be able to tune into that one. With that said, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Have a safe weekend. We'll get back at you on Monday. We'll see you at the next red light.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.